Hi, everybody. It's Marsha Casper Cook, and today's guest is Delta James. She'll be coming on shortly, and then we will start the show. Okay, she's connected.
I am.
Delta?
I'm right here.
Okay, there you go. Okay, hi, everybody. Okay, it's Delta's here, and we've got a lot of shows coming up in the next few weeks, so I'll just give you a little rundown quickly because I always forget that because I keep talking. Okay, November 3rd, Chris Carlson and Jen O'Connor will be on. Tomorrow is Patricia Meade, Amy Patricia Meade, and she's been on before, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And then we have Lorraine Carey and Becky Robbins on the 30th for a special Halloween show. But today we have someone that's been on many times before, and I didn't call her purposely before the show because we end up talking too long and everything we say that I could have said it on the show. So okay, Delta, I know because I saw a post, like when I see posts that I think that are important, then I go, oh, let's do a show on it. So I had to ask you which one it was because I couldn't find it on your Facebook. So tell everybody what exactly you wanted to talk about today. And we'll talk about other things, but I labeled the show off the cuff because sometimes we go in different directions. Not we, I do, and my guests do too. But Delta, welcome.
Thank you for having me back.
Oh,
Um,
always.
we've talked before about I try to be as a writer very transparent with my readers so they know what's going on.
Right.
And about this time last year, I ran into some real health crises. And at first, I really sort of wanted to isolate and not be open about it because, in retrospect, I was scared because it was
Yeah.
the big C word.
Yeah.
And then I decided that really wasn't being,
Transparent to your
yeah,
people,
it's not
right?
who I
Yeah.
am to my readers. And I
Right.
thought, even if I'm uncomfortable, even if I'm really scared, even if it turns out really bad, maybe it'll help one other person. And if it does
Yeah.
that, then it was worth it to me.
Yeah.
So I went in for my regular pap smear, and I had been having some intermittent bleeding. And pap smear came back clean. And my gynecologist, thank God, said, "Yeah, but I don't like you having this intermittent bleeding, and you're postmenopausal. So let's do a biopsy and everything." So we did that. And the next time somebody tells you that they want to do that, and they're going to scrape your uterus, and you think, "Oh my God," and all this, I have to tell you, I'm the biggest wuss where pain is concerned. It was a
Yeah.
piece of cake. She gave me something to make me not
Right. Right.
nervous, and
Right.
I could have cared less. I mean,
Right.
literally,
Right.
her joke was later. She said to me, "You and I have to talk low pain tolerance," because she said I scraped the crap out of your uterus, and your blood pressure never went up, your heart
Right.
rate never went up, nothing. And I was talking to her assistant about my books, so
Right. That's a
it's
good
not
thing.
as bad as people make it out to be. That's what I
Right.
want you to know. And so then they called me in and they said, "We have found precancerous cells in the lining of your uterus." And I was like, "Oh crap, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, it means we have to go in there and get it. And the best thing to do, the safest thing, would be a complete hysterectomy. Since I'm
Right.
postmenopausal, it doesn't, it's not a big concern for me
Right.
that it is for a lot of women."
Right.
So I said, "Okay." And when I went to see the surgeon, she said, "Well, there's a mass in there too." And I'm like,
Mm.
"Holy crap."
Mm. Yeah.
So they get me into the thing. And I have to tell you, I think in the end, I was more afraid of the surgery than I was of the cancer
I
because
think that's what happens to people. That it is people. That's what
I
I
hadn't
will.
had surgery since I was 3. I'm 67.
Yeah.
I've never really had surgery that I remember.
Right.
So it scared the crap out of me. And I was really convinced I was going to die. I
Yeah.
made all these I've always had a will and all that kind of stuff in place, but I wanted Chris to know where things were and
Right.
Renee to
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And maybe that was overreacting, but in all honesty, I think it made me feel better that I knew that if something did happen, my legacy would go on and the people I care about
Right.
would be taken care of, and then, all that kind of
Right.
stuff. So I did, and they did a robotic hysterectomy. I had
Oh. Wow.
5 little dots. I mean, they didn't even have band-aids on them. They used
Mm.
like super glue.
Yeah.
And they didn't hurt. I mean, when I woke up And the guy said, well, we've got your painkillers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not in pain. And he
Right.
went,
It's good.
well, you had surgery. You should have painkillers. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not
Right.
in pain.
Yeah.
And I wasn't. And I took him the first time mostly to make him feel better, the night
Yeah.
nurse, who's an aspiring novelist.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And I had people come in and out of my
Well, then
room the
she
whole
got a
time.
great she got a great
You know,
patient to
um,
take care of then. I'll tell you that.
and so, but I honestly, it was no big deal. It's all I can tell you is it was no big deal. And then because I had neglected having mammograms and everything for several years, I had that done, and they found something dense, a cluster of dense cells. That's how they put it.
Yeah.
And my nurse practitioner, who's my GP, is really a wonderful woman and very down to earth and very. She's not one who raises alarms. And she says, if we had a baseline, I wouldn't be as concerned. But I got no.
Right.
She said, I got no baseline. I don't know if this is normal or not.
Yeah. Right.
I had to go in and have a biopsy. Again, people tell you, "Oh, it's terrible, it's awful."
Okay,
I
let me
gotta
ask you a
tell
quick
you,
question. You didn't have I'll discuss some things after the show, but after the you're done, but you didn't have a mammogram ever?
no, I've had mammograms. I just hadn't had one because I hadn't had insurance for like 5 years.
Right.
I hadn't had a mammogram, which is dumb because there are plenty of free programs out there that will give you a mammogram for free.
Right, right,
So,
yeah. Because
um,
right, that's why they do them every year, and sometimes they
exactly.
like you to have them in the same place, so they
Yeah,
have can look, and see how, what's changed or what
yeah.
hasn't. Yeah,
And she said if we had a baseline, I wouldn't be as concerned. But we had the cancer earlier in the year. Now we've got
yeah,
this. I want to see what's going on. So they did a biopsy of that, and again, people told me how horrible it was going to be,
yeah, yeah.
including, I might add, the woman at registration where I'm signing in to get this done. She goes, "Oh, a biopsy. Those are just awful."
Well, that was really bad. I look
I
at
wanted to
that's
smack that
ridiculous.
woman. I got
I
news
know.
for you. I'm surprised Chris didn't smack her. But I have to tell you again, I didn't find it painful. I
Right,
truly didn't. The surgeon was there. She had an assistant, and then she had another assistant whose entire job was to keep me distracted and looking at her.
right.
And the surgeon was very, you're going to feel a puff and you're going to feel a little sting, and it's going to,
Did they give you local? You mean you were
yeah,
up?
they did a local, and she said
Okay.
that's going to be the
Yeah,
worst of it. She
yeah.
said then you're going to feel like a puff of air,
Right,
and you're going to hear a pop.
right.
And she says, and it scares the crap out of people. She
Oh,
said, understandably so. She
right,
said, so I tell people that it's going to happen. Then when it happens, you go, oh yeah,
right.
and you don't flinch. And so the girl who was supposed to take care of me, she had me hold her hands, and we talked books the entire time.
Yeah,
So again, it was no big deal. I,
right.
I and it's all clear. I'm all fine. That's all great. But I was really upfront with people about what had happened and how I'd gone through this and everything else. And I had so many people write me and say, I haven't had that done for years. I'm really afraid, da da da. And, and I got to talk to readers, and I think, I don't want to think, oh, I saved lives. I, you know, I think I help people do what they need to do to look
Well,
after
right.
themselves. You know,
I every year I haven't done it like for the last few years with COVID and everything, but I haven't. But I always had a show about breast cancer
hmm
because it's really important that people get mammograms,
hmm
and um, that's one of the things I think it's you need to have certain tests. And I'm not thrilled about the fact that they have stopped doing pap smears for people over a certain age, because I was a lab tech for years and I was in cytology, and you can always get a cancer cell. So
exactly.
they say that, oh, at a certain age you won't, but there's no guarantee, but that's the rules these days. But having a mammogram is so important, and it's one of the things that's, it's like you go to the dentist for a checkup, you get a mammogram, and I've met people over the years that have never had them.
Yeah.
So, and what you're saying, you had them, but they do need to have a pattern. So, and they don't always take them on younger people, because I ask this question a lot, because younger people's breasts are very dense, and
hmm
sometimes it's hard to tell them,
hmm
if but for those that are listening today and you haven't had one, or need one, just take it.
Yeah, it's better to have the information and make well informed decisions.
Yes, and don't be
I've always
afraid to go.
believed, and,
Don't be
and
afraid of the pain because,
it's not
you
that
know,
bad. I'm
it isn't.
sorry. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it is for some people. I shouldn't say that.
Well, but
Everybody,
wait,
but
but those are important things. Like when people say, "Oh, the shot hurts if you get a vaccine." I
yeah.
worked in a pediatric office, so kids got shots, but in 2 seconds, it's over. So don't, if you're afraid of shots, just hopefully somebody will be with you in the room. They can hold your hand
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
over. Like, and even when I draw blood, I did. And so I would have a lot of people lie down because if you lie down, you can't pass out because people are afraid. I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it is. They're scared to death of this. Not like you said, not of what would happen. It's getting the shot, like getting a needle in you.
Yeah, the reason the breast surgeon does it the way she does is because it's easier, especially where mine was, if you're sitting up. So they have you sitting up,
Yeah,
but if you're looking over there and watching the needle go in and this going, you're going
yeah,
to flinch and do this, and you're going to hurt. You're going to make it worse than it is.
yeah,
So she always has her assistant who assists her,
yeah,
and then she has somebody who is there
yeah,
with the patient, literally has the patient's hands. And every time I started to like look over at
yeah,
my left breast, the girl that was with me would go, eyes here, talk to me about your
right,
next book.
right.
I mean, and honestly, it really was a piece of cake. It
Yeah.
really was.
I'm just the opposite. Like I have to know everything. I go like, well, how many minutes? Like even when I go to the dentist, how long is it going to take? As long as they tell me how long it's going to be and I can watch them, I like to see what's going on and I like to know. And if they say, oh, it's 5 minutes or it's 10 minutes, I can handle it. But sometimes when you don't know how long it is, not with a lot of things, but sometimes when you know how long like a biopsy will take,
And
you it's
that's really
easier
good.
to yeah, it's easier
That's really
to
good
get
information because one of the things the assistant said to me, you need to know in a
right.
worst case scenario, the
Yeah.
longest any one of these has ever done, as long as
Right.
I've been doing them, and she'd
Yeah.
been doing them for like 25 years,
Yeah.
is 10 minutes.
Right.
And I looked at her and I said, I can withstand anything for 10
Right.
minutes. She
That's
said,
right. That's the
so can
thing.
most
Yeah.
people. She said, that's the other thing we do that a lot of people don't. We tell people,
Yeah.
this is how long it's going to take because most people's reaction is yours. Well, shit, I can do that. No big
Yeah.
deal. And
Right.
you do.
Yeah.
But again, I have to say, by the surgeon telling you, you're going to feel like a puff of wind and then
Yeah.
you're going to hear a loud pop.
Pop. Right.
And she said, you're not going to feel it, but you're going to hear it, and it's going to make it's going to startle you. So if
Yeah.
I tell you it's coming, it doesn't. And she was right. I went, oh
Right.
yeah, but the wind. Oh, there's the pop. I could have cared
Right.
less. I was
Right.
really very relaxed, very nonchalant about the whole thing.
But I think
Um,
one of the problems for people now is a lot of off doctors' offices in the hospital, they're so rushed, they don't have time, which is bad because
mhm.
when you're taking care of a patient, they're scared no matter what, even
Oh
if you're
yeah,
going in for anything. And it takes 5 minutes to talk to the person and make them feel like they can do this. And when they come in and they don't look at you or talk to you or anything, that makes it 10 times worse.
yeah. And I'm very lucky. I have a nurse practitioner. Was when I was in
Yeah.
the hospital with the hysterectomy, they were like, you need a general practitioner. And I've never had one because I don't like doctors and I don't like going to the
Yeah.
doctor's office and
Yeah.
all that. And the nurse I had the whole time I was there, I really liked her. She said, I don't think you should find a physician. I said, oh, they're telling me. She goes, no, I think you want a nurse practitioner. She
Well,
goes,
because they
now,
have time. They take
she
care of
says,
you.
I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you up front, I'm
Yeah.
prejudiced. I'm just studying for my nurse practitioner degree.
Yeah.
But doctors are taught diagnose, treat,
Right.
diagnose, treat, diagnose, treat. She says nurse practitioners tend to look at
Yeah.
the whole body, at the whole system.
And they should. And they should.
And and she's right. I found a nurse practitioner.
Yeah.
She's wonderful. She never makes you feel like she's rushed. You feel like she's got all day to talk to you,
Right.
and yet you're always on time. You don't even wait 5 minutes to get into her office.
Yeah.
Past your time.
I think those things are so important. And,
Oh, it is.
I mean,
I
I
almost
think,
walked. I
yeah.
almost walked out on a doctor's office. Um, he wanted to look at something on my hand, and they tell you get there 15 minutes early. Okay, I got
Yep.
there 15 minutes early. Time came up, nothing. Time goes by, time goes
Yeah.
by. At 15 after, I said to Chris, I'm done. I'm leaving
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And Chris went up to the girl and she said, you better go tell them she's leaving. And I'm telling you, if she gets to the elevator, she isn't coming back.
Right, right,
And
right.
suddenly I got
Listen,
right in.
some
Now,
doctors, look,
that's not
look,
right. You know,
in the some
my,
of the offices I worked at, some of the doctors were an hour late. And imagine that, kids, okay? But
yeah.
the whole thing is when the doctor went in the room with the patient, they never rushed them. So that's what happens. So there's a delay because it depends, especially if you're a new mother, you don't know things, you're talking to the doctor. But have to find somebody, like if you're saying a nurse practitioner, because it's you
Mhm.
have to be there for the patient. It's
Yeah.
horrible.
I understand an emergency. I understand something went
Yeah,
wrong.
I know.
And all you have to do is tell me that. I'm so sorry. They're
That's
running
right.
late because XYZ. I will be very patient about that. But when I have the first appointment in the morning
I know.
and
Yep.
you make a big deal about
Yep.
I need to be there 15 minutes
Right.
early,
Yep.
and then 15 minutes after you haven't come out, I'm sorry.
Yep.
My time is just as
Well, that's
important
the
as
thing,
yours.
uh,
Period.
I think a lot of doctors, if they should tell you, like, okay, it might be a little wait or something
Mhm.
like that, instead of just ignoring the patient. One time I
Exactly.
went to the eye doctor
Exactly.
and I loved her. She was great. However, I went on my lunch. This is years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, it's an hour. So I got in my car and I called them and I went like, "Hi, it's Marsha, Marsha Cook. I will make another appointment." I had to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I
I just,
couldn't stay, and so that's the thing. Since COVID, there's not as much waiting because they don't try not to keep all of the people sitting in a room like they
yeah.
did
Yeah.
before.
I think the thing is that I've never been somebody who likes doctors at all. I avoid
Yeah.
them at all costs. And um,
Well, there's a lot of people like that,
I
especially
just,
now.
I think you have to look for the right person. But a friend of mine once said to me, you have to advocate for your health. And I said, oh,
That's
that's
exactly
stupid. You don't
right.
have to advocate. And he looked at me
No,
and he
but you
goes,
have to be your own. Yes, you
I
do.
said, you have to, you just tell him, you're in charge. And he
Right.
goes, yes. And that's what the rest of us call advocating. And
Yeah.
he was teasing me because I don't see it as that. And I'm very upfront with anybody who's a practitioner of mine.
Yeah.
Their job is to give me information.
Right.
They don't get to make the decisions.
Right.
That's my job,
Right.
my
Yeah, and I
prerogative.
think that's true though. You have to.
You
And
know,
that's the problem because some people don't have anybody with them. So you are your best advocate. Once
yep,
I had a doctor once say to me, "Well, which of your doctors knows you the best?" I go, "Me." I said,
yeah,
"Me. I know me the best."
yeah. I'm diabetic. I'm a type 2 diabetic.
Hmm.
And they've been working on getting, because I ignored it for years. Again,
Hmm.
my bad, getting my A1C down. And so they put me on Manjaro, partially to lose weight, but mostly to put on to address the A1C number, because my nurse practitioners had a lot of really good results with that.
Yeah.
And my body just doesn't handle Manjaro. It's just not a drug I can take. And I said to her, this is the other thing about, I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about Lucille Fantuzzi, who's my NP. She is she has, you have messaging in what they call My Chart, Cleveland Clinic's My Chart.
Uh,
It's never more than a couple hours before I get an answer back from her.
yeah.
Never. And if I send it like at 7 at night, I get one back before 8 in the morning.
Right.
She's really good about that. She really likes communication. And I just said to her,
It's
I'm
really
done.
important. It's
I'm
important.
not doing this again. I have been
Yeah.
sick for 2 days,
Yeah.
and I just can't. We can't. And I had used a long time ago Victoza and metformin had worked, and I said I'd like to go back to that. And she said absolutely. She said
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
I don't want you to be sick. You have given it. She says God knows you've tried to use this drug, and you're right. Apparently your body can't tolerate it. And that's the thing I think we need to, I think we need to give practitioners grace. They
Yeah.
try what they think is best,
Right.
but if you don't tell them it doesn't work, or if you keep trying and keep getting sick. A friend of mine said she does great on Manjaro, couldn't take Victoza,
Yeah.
and she said, and here's the difference between us. I was sick for a year and a half on that stuff before I finally said, I can't do this.
Oh, that's a long time.
That's
Yeah.
what she said. She said, you're much better at advocating and saying,
Yeah.
I'm not living this way.
Yeah.
This isn't something I'm going to do.
No, that's the thing. Because there are a lot of drugs out there that are good for some people, but not for other people.
Yeah. Well,
And
I worked
you're
in
an
mental health
individual.
for I went I worked in mental health for 10 years.
Mhm.
And that's an area of medicine that they're still
Oh, yeah.
stumbling in the dark. I mean, God knows they're trying to do their best. I'm not saying that. But it's not like you have this disease, you weigh this much,
Yeah,
you're
right,
this
right,
old,
right.
this is the drug we give you at this dosage. Mental health is sort of like, well, we'll try this, we'll try
Yeah.
that. And it's a lot of the side effects are debilitating to
Well, this
people.
is the whole thing about medicine now, and
Yeah.
that is the problem. And sometimes my doctor would say, like, "Well, what did you?" Because I should. Well, I don't always do what they say because I don't like it, and I go and figure out ways not to do it to do something else. Because they only know one way, and so I think that uh, if you have something like allergies or things like that, if you find a good like allergist or somebody, they
Mhm,
handle a lot of other things because people that
mhm,
have allergies can't take certain things,
mhm.
and
Absolutely.
they need smaller doses because it's easier to take if they cut the dose in half for some people.
Yeah, and the thing that I've discovered is that working with Luann, and I just adore her, is she really wants her patients to communicate with her. And I was talking to
It's
her
good.
medical
It's great.
assistant, and I said, she's just wonderful. And she goes, oh, yeah. She says, everybody who uses her loves her. And she
Yeah.
said, people get her just because their doctor wasn't around, they switch. And I can understand that. She's caring, she listens. Her whole thing is she wants you to feel as good as you can feel, you
Right.
know? And
And
she's going
that
to help
should
you
but
do
that
that,
should be the thing. That
you know? And
and my one of my eye doctors was telling me something. He said his daughter was 12 and she sees commercials where they're dancing around and it's beautiful and everything is looking great. And then she's 12, mind you, and she says, "Oh," she says, she heard all the warnings afterwards, and she says, even so, he said, even all the dancing and singing doesn't take away from a list of 20 things you could get from that drug.
mhm, yeah.
And that makes people scared. It does. You can't help it.
But yeah, I think that I think we have to know those things. I mean, I want to know
I
what's
know.
the worst. I mean, when I talk to
I
the
like to know
surgeon,
too. I do. I
when
do.
I talk to the cancer surgeon about the hysterectomy, I said, I know this is routine to you. And she goes, I've done thousands of these. I said,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is my first time. And she started to laugh and she said,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. And she said,
Yeah.
let me tell you a little story about myself. She said,
Yeah.
I'm a gynecological surgeon. This is what I do. I do these.
Okay.
And she goes, I don't know
Right.
how many cesarean sections I've performed. She said, but when I had to go in to get my first cesarean
Yeah.
section, she said, I was scared to death.
Yep.
She says,
And
and
that
I
I'll tell you something.
apologize for not remembering that when you told me up front, this is the
That's
first
smart
surgery you've ever had.
because
And she
most
kind of slowed down and
because
then walked me
doctors are
through it.
scared. I worked for a pediatrician that he had kidney stones, okay?
Mhm.
So we're in the lab and I see him, he's jumping up and down. I'm going like, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm trying to push push the kidney stone down so I don't have to have surgery." I go, "Are you a doctor?" I said, "What are you doing?" He didn't want to go for surgery.
Yeah. She was just, once she understood, she said, I'd forgotten what it's like for to have that first
That's
time.
right.
She
They
goes, and I
yeah,
was the one performing surgeries and I still felt that.
right.
So she kind of slowed
Well,
down
they're pretty fussy doctors on who
and
they choose.
and went back and told me what was going on, how
Yeah.
they were going to handle it. She said it's not like when your mother or somebody else had it. There's not a big long
Right.
recovery time. She said,
Yeah.
honestly, it used to be a 3 or 4 hour surgery. She said, with the robots we have now, she said,
Yeah.
I'm in and out 15 minutes.
It's so good. It's really
It was
good.
like, whoa. And she says, which helps with a lot of things.
It does.
I really, apparently I was really funny in the place where they get you before they take you into the surgical, yeah, in
Yeah.
pre-op,
Right.
because I'm very susceptible to those kind of drugs.
Yeah.
And I was saying goodbye to everybody. And And then when I came out, I was like, ho hum tra la la, you know, like, for somebody who was pretty concerned. And I
Yeah.
was up against a deadline on a book, so I had my computer with me. So I've just had, a hysterectomy, a complete hysterectomy. And I don't know, 3 hours later, I was working on a book. I was writing a chapter in a book.
Like, let me interrupt for a sec. Everybody, Delta James is a wonderful writer who has over 100 books. So that's who she is. You pop those books out like babies. Pop, pop,
Yeah,
pop, pop,
yeah.
pop.
It's what I mean. People say, "Well, what do you do besides write?" That's kind of what I do.
When
I
I
mean,
look online, that's why I'm looking for. I'm thinking, where did I see what she wrote? Because you have so many books coming out at like one time.
well, it's I try to, especially in my newsletters and stuff, I try to be
Yeah,
really real with people. And in my reader group, on my Facebook page, I kind of keep it sort of more professionalish.
yeah,
My reader group, I'm a lot more
yeah.
open with them. In my newsletter, I'm very open, and I went ahead and shared all this. And when I did, my PA, who actually I write the note and everything, but she's the one who puts my newsletter together so that it looks
Right,
pretty and does
right.
newsletter swaps and all that kind of crap for me. And she said I was going to give you a little longer before I said to you, I really think you should talk about this to people because
Yeah,
I think you'll get. And I had hundreds of people
yeah,
who said, gosh, I haven't gone, and I went, and some of them it was I was clear, and some of them it was like, well, I found something, and they're having to do this, and and I kept up with them, and the thing I always get back from readers is like they're like, oh my god, it's really you.
yeah.
And I said, well, who do
See,
you think would be answering my
right,
mail?
right,
And they're
right.
like,
And I think people like that. And I
yeah,
mean,
I
even
mean,
when this, when movie stars come out and they say they have something, it helps people.
yeah, it takes some of the fear away, and it makes you kind of go, well, if they can do it, I guess I can do it. And I talked to a woman, and they were talking about having robotic hysterectomy, and they really had given her. And I said, keep in mind, I'm just a romance writer. I am not a
Right,
surgeon. I don't even
right.
play one on television. But
Yeah,
this is what I learned through my experience. And if this is what they're telling you, these are the questions I would ask them. And if you don't like what they're saying, find a different surgeon.
right.
And she did.
Yeah.
And she
You
said,
really should look at. I
it
think a
made all the
bedside
difference.
manner is very important. I do.
Mhm.
I can't help it because I think that it makes you relax.
Yeah.
Uh, one of the doctors I have now, he just, I must admit, I'm anxious when I go there because I just don't like how he treats me, and I have to,
Mm.
I
Yeah.
went to him for years, but I always think he's just, when they're writing, they're not listening to you. And I
Yeah.
don't, and so I've had a lot of doctors in my lifetime, and I'm very fussy because they don't look at you now, and I want to talk to them. He's writing
Mhm.
this and writing that, and then they don't check you right. I mean, I've heard from a lot of people, and I probably will have a show about this wellness exam that they have now for people. It doesn't do nothing. They don't do anything. I mean, I think for most, for sure, people need mammograms, pap smears, they need to have blood tests, and they
Mhm.
should have some cardiograms. They don't give them anymore. But a lot of the labs tell you if there's a heart problem. But
Yeah.
they've stopped a lot of stuff. And the other thing they've stopped is chest x-rays. Years ago they tell you, oh well, we don't want people to be exposed to radiation so much if you have an x-ray, but you can find things from an x-ray. A
Yeah.
lot of people have lung cancer now. It's very common. It's much more than ever before. And they end up being at stage 4. So if they gave people an x-ray like every other year, they could at least prevent maybe some of it,
Yeah. Yeah. I think that that's really
but
the
they
thing I would say
don't.
to anybody is make sure that whoever your general practitioner is, that you can talk to them, that you like them. I said to somebody, if you don't think I would take this person to dinner,
Yeah,
don't go to them. That's simple to
right.
me.
I
And
always ask, sometimes I say if it's a man, I go, or a woman, I go, like, what would you do if your mother asked you this?
yeah, yeah.
Because
What
they're
would you do?
very young,
Exactly.
okay? And they tell me the truth,
Yeah.
and I think it's important.
I think it's really important to have a two-way conversation.
Yeah,
Medicare, you have to have an annual physical and everything. And
Mm.
so we just went through that and everything and she's gotten blood work and all that kind of crap. And she's just, Lucille's just very, we're going to look at this. We're going to take this. This blood work was off, but I think this is what it is. I mean, she's really like on top of it. And I always feel like she cares. And like I said, I can send her messages. I don't have to call her and get on the phone and wait for a call.
Right, because they have the portals now. They have a
Yeah,
portal
I can
where you
just
can
send a
just,
message
yeah,
and say, "Hey,
yeah,
da 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 da," and she's like, and she
yeah,
comes back and tells me,
yeah.
and it's great. We have a running joke because Chris has high blood pressure
Mhm.
and I don't, and so she'll look at me and she'll go, "What was your blood pressure?" And I tell her, and she's like, "I hate you," and
Yeah,
she walks
yeah.
out. But but I'm lucky I don't have that. I had
Yeah,
these cancer scares, but you know, and they were scary. I mean, I
it is
was
scary. Yeah,
when somebody says that says cancer to you.
yeah.
I know my gynecologist, Chris, was there with me, and she was watching both her and me, and she said, I could tell she knew that you weren't hearing anything else she said
And that happens.
other than cancer. That's
Right.
all you heard. And so Chris was asking her a lot of
Right,
questions.
right. That's why
Um,
if you can take somebody with you, because
Absolutely.
you're human, and when they're talking to you, you're looking right at them, but you might not really be listening. So you should bring someone with you that is listening.
Yeah, Chris had come and she brought a notebook with her, and so
Yeah,
she was
right.
making notes and she's asking the my gynecologist. And again, I have to say about Crystal Taylor, who's my gynecologist, she was wonderful.
Yeah,
She was sitting here telling me, and yes, she was giving me, but she again never made me feel rushed. Never made me feel like she was in a hurry. She had forty
right.
thousand things to do. Never, none of that. I felt cared for and taken care of. The
Yeah,
same thing in the hospital. And part of why they kept me there is I'd let my blood sugar get way out of whack, and they
yeah.
were keeping
Well,
me till
that's
they
well
get that.
that right, right, right.
They could get that back. But I was sitting working on books, and one of the people came in and they said, is your television working? And I said, I don't know. I haven't turned it on.
Right,
Why? And
right,
she said, well, you haven't turned it on. And I said,
right,
I'm a
right.
writer. I'm writing.
Yeah,
And she's
right.
like, oh, really? And that then sort of spread. I had nurses,
Yeah,
surgeons, medical assistants,
right.
people in and out of my thing talking to me all the time about,
Well,
whatever.
because they love to talk to like this is the other thing. People really love to talk to authors. Unfortunately, bookstores and Barnes and Noble, and they're not as easy to get in to speak. But
Mhm,
regular people, not authors, well, authors
mhm,
too, but I mean, but regular people want to hear about writing because a lot of people in their mind they go, "Can I write a book?" That's why I do the show a lot because
mhm.
I want people to know they can do things.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
I
and
always I
so
always
I'm sure
laugh
they were
about I backed
thrilled.
into my career. I mean, you and I have talked enough,
Yeah.
I backed into being a writer. I mean, I sort
Yes.
of
Yeah.
did it on a fluke and it took off and I was sort of like, oh well, okie dokie, then I guess I'll do that. And I
Well,
learned
most
things
of
on the
us had
fly.
other lives before, you know.
Well, I certainly had another life before,
Yeah.
and my original thought was if I could just earn enough money to show to be able to show my dogs without it being a
Right.
stretch every month.
Right,
That
right,
would be really cool. Well,
right.
6 months, 9 months later, I was able to walk away from my day job because I was making
Which
more
is
money writing than I was
incredible.
that.
Which is incredible.
And
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 right.
I became a USA Today bestseller and blah 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 blah. I had a lot of things. A lot of things fell into line for me. I was planful about a lot of things. There are people who say I'm very mercenary um, because I do look at the bottom line when I'm looking at things.
Yeah.
I had a PA I knew up front. I didn't have time, especially at the time because I had a day job. I didn't have time to learn about Facebook ads and Amazon ads and all
Right.
that crap. And I knew I needed to do it. I just knew I didn't have the time.
Right.
So I hired somebody to do it.
Right.
Best investment
Right.
I ever made.
Yeah.
And I also started with a very small niche publisher
Yeah.
who would put money into the books, advertising, and he would do the covers and he would do all that kind of stuff. So I didn't have to bother. So basically, all I had to do was
Right.
write.
Right.
And that's basically still all I do is write.
Yeah.
I have other people that do the
Yeah.
other things for me because that I
Yeah.
don't really want to do. Um,
Yeah.
I'm sympathetic when people say I don't have money for that. And I will tell you, when I first started, Renee's comment to me was, I said, I have your fee and $50 a month. And she said, I can't do anything to move the needle on sales with $50 a month in ads.
Right.
And she said, that's just a fact that people don't want to know, but it is
Right.
true.
I know it is true.
She said,
I know.
but I can build your newsletter. And that's actually, in the long run, that's your best advertising. So
Yeah.
that's what we did. She built the newsletter. And we started with zero, and within 9 months, we had 5,000 people on the newsletter.
Yeah.
So and now it's much bigger than that. But, it's always been that way. And um, she's just very upfront with people about how to do that. And I think you have to be mindful of those things, and you
Yeah.
have to scale your expectations accordingly. I can't tell you the number of people who've said to me, including my good friend Annie Carlisle, said they published their first book and she put it up on Amazon. She watched it go live and she waited for the sales to roll in,
Yeah. Well,
and they
I see that
didn't.
all the time, right? They're not
Yeah,
rolling in without working, right? And I
yeah,
do, listen, I talk about this constantly for people out there, that what they can do and what they can't do. And I have done things where I could have done different things, but I've been doing this for over 20 years,
hmm
and I do the podcasts and I love them, and I write and I
hmm
screenplays, I do those. And it is hard to know exactly what to do. And as we're speaking now, things are changing even in a minute.
oh
So,
yeah,
but I'm an advocate for people to just do it.
yeah.
You
Get out there
never
and do
know.
you do. I met with a waitress at a restaurant Chris and I like, knows I'm a writer. We've
Yeah.
talked, blah blah blah. She has another person who comes into the restaurant who said something about having published her first book, and she said, "Oh my God, Delta James comes in here," and she goes, "Oh my God, you're kidding?"
Yeah.
She goes, "Oh, I'd love to be here." When he said, "Well, I can tell her that if you want. I can see if she'll meet with you. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure she will," which I did. So
Yeah.
we went and we sat down and we had lunch, and she said, I put my heart and soul in this book, and it's not selling, and it's.
Yeah.
And I said, if you know me, you know that the kindest word is probably blunt. But I'm not going to lie to somebody, and I'm not going to tell
No.
them what they
Right.
want to hear, because
Right.
I think there's a lot of people that'll do that. So somebody's got to tell them the reality. And I said,
Yeah.
if you want to talk about ads, I'm not the person to talk to. I don't know anything about them. I
Right.
hired somebody to do that for me.
Yeah.
And she's like, I can do that. I'm like, yes, you can.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I said, I can tell you things like your cover's all wrong for your genre. Well, I
Yeah.
wanted it to be different. I said, well, you want it to stand out, but you don't want it to be different than the things that are the best sellers. I said, your name is too. I said, and Chris said to her, and you got to write with a pen name. And she said, well, I'm proud of my book. And Chris said, yes, and I can't pronounce your last name, much less spell it on
Yeah.
Amazon.
Yeah.
The first time when I was going to come up with a pen name, I wanted to be Delta St. James.
Oh,
And my
okay.
publisher said, I'm not going to tell you no, but I'm going to tell you some things to think about. I said, okay. And he said, Saint. And I said, yeah. And he goes, is that ST? ST period.
Yeah.
STE. STE period. SAINT.
Right.
And I'm like, holy crap. He said, short, sweet, to the point. You don't want him to be able to misspell it. So
Yeah.
Delta James, pretty simple. You can spell it, it fits easily. And I mean, it was that kind of practicality. She's just like,
Yeah.
oh, that makes sense. I said, you can tell people what your real name, but you want your pen name to be something you can search easily on Amazon. You
Yeah.
want it to fit on a book cover easily. There's all these things that you don't think about till somebody sits down with you and says, let's talk about this. Let's talk about editing. Let's talk about, and she works in a business. And I said, you work and she said, well, yes. And I said, yes. And in a business letter, you could put everybody's thoughts in one paragraph because they're all the same thoughts. And she said, yes. I said, you can't do that. It's dialogue. You must have people speaking in different
Right. Right.
paragraphs.
Right.
And she's like, oh my God. And I said, this is not something you know and
Yeah.
you'll learn. You have to sit down with somebody. Somebody has to say to you, an editor or somebody, this isn't right. You have to change this.
Yeah.
And so we
I
did. And
think
we,
yeah, you need to, but you need to also, after, like you've said this before, you do one book, just keep going on.
Mhm.
Don't let one book
No, and
just
don't
yeah.
think you're going to go back and rewrite all the books, because I
No.
can tell you
Yeah.
I started in what 2018. It's 2025. 7 years in. I look back at the books I wrote at first and I went, "Ay,
I
I could
know,
have
I
written
know,
that
I
better."
know, I know, I
But
know.
as my wonderful PA said to me, she said, "And if you want to revise those, you can." I said, "There's a but coming here." I said, "Yes." The big but is, um, I think that the big bet is you don't make as much money on a re-release as you do on a new release. So spend the time and the money and the effort on your new stuff.
Yeah,
People will understand that was your first stuff,
yeah,
and
yeah.
and so
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it is interesting sometimes for myself. I find like if I haven't written a character in a while and I'm redoing and I'm putting them in another book, I say the same things like it's just in my mind. I guess I either am that person that's saying it, when I'm saying it, but it's so weird because it could be 5 years later and I still talk in that voice for that character.
yeah,
I don't know how that is though because it's in my mind, I guess. I
yeah. I
guess
mean,
when we write, we just think that we're just writing. But I've said it many times before, like sometimes if I, on a rewrite, I go, oh, this is what I'm putting in. And I look at the next page, I go, like, I already had that thought.
yeah,
So something in us makes us feel, that while
yeah,
we're
and
writing, what we're writing is coming from our heads.
I think we are. I think if you're a good writer, you get better as you go along. You learn
Yeah.
stuff. You
Yes.
learn how to do things differently, how to make
If
a
you
better
let
point.
yourself, if you
You
let
know,
yourself.
and I think a lot of that has to do with having good editors. And I think the other thing it has
Yeah.
to do with is finding a tribe of people that you can talk about and you can
Yeah.
say, "You guys, this paragraph isn't working. This is what I wanted to say, but I can't get it to say that."
Right.
And have those people say, "Well, what about saying it this way? What about you
Right.
saying it this way?" And just peer to peer critiques. It doesn't have to be somebody you pay. It can be a and I've got this little tribe, and we
Yeah.
do critique each other's work, and we do work together, and we do things together.
Which
And
is good.
yeah, absolutely. And we use that ability, the four of us, to do things that one of us would have trouble affording, but if we split it four ways, it's not nearly as expensive.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
so it's just an easier way to do things. And
I
so
mean, I have you on a lot because I think you say it like it is.
I
And I
try.
agree. I agree with a lot of things you say. That's why I didn't want to call you to talk about it because, and I know that we'll like skip over those things. So, because we'll have already talked about it. It's like when you're doing a book, you're adding on stuff and you go, oh, I did that already. It's like, uh-oh,
Yeah.
you don't want to keep talking about the same thing. But, for the most part, I think you talking to people because you can say I did this in 7 years, but I
Mhm.
didn't do it in 1 second.
No. And yes, there is the other thing I tell people when people say I don't want to write to market. Well, okay, but you're not going to make money,
Yeah.
and that's just that's the thing is you can bend that to write whatever you want. You just
Yeah.
have to figure out how to rephrase it so that it's to market and that people will want to look for it. And
Yeah.
the roaring you hear in the background is our basset hounds are now face fighting. They're laying on the ground, grabbing each other's faces, and it's what bassets do. They've
Hmm.
been playing, and so now we're running out of steam, but we're not done playing yet. So we're going to
Oh,
play.
okay. They
Um,
can play.
so so that's the noise you hear in the
Listen,
background.
I don't care. You know what? I am very well, like I said, I worked in a pediatric office, so I could talk over about anything,
Me too. I
because,
mean, it doesn't.
I
I don't
do.
really even hear
I
it much.
doesn't, right. When I
Um,
started my podcast, I always say that April Robin is the one that started with us, a lot of us. She had us do shows with her. And I always loved the fact that like when she did her show, she like lived in Texas and she said, and the doorbell rang. She goes, well, wait a minute, I gotta go get the door. And I'm thinking, oh, I love this because she just says it on the air. That's why I do my shows live. I don't edit because I think it's I don't want to cut people's words out. I
yeah,
don't want to leave a part out because I wouldn't want someone doing that to me, cutting what I say,
yeah.
whatever it is.
I think it's important that there you can do everything right and still not be as successful as you'd like to be. there is a certain amount of luck involved. I tell this story all the time. My first book was a paranormal book that I wrote just to see if I could,
Yeah.
and it hit. And I was sitting having breakfast. I had this little routine that I did, and I'm
Yeah.
having breakfast, and my phone is blowing up. I mean, just literally blowing
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
And it's two writer friends of mine. And finally, I called one of them back and I said, "What is the problem?" And she said, "Have you looked at your rankings?" And I
Yeah.
stupidly replied, "Well, what are rankings?" Because I didn't
Right.
know what
Yeah.
she was talking about. And she said, "I'm hanging up now,"
Yeah.
and she called me back. But the book had just, it was like in the top 1,200 on Amazon all over the store. That's
Yeah.
pretty phenomenal. And the other
Well,
thing people need to remember is you have to take those numbers in context. I had a friend who was saying, I just want my book to get down. I'd never get below 6,000 and da 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 da. And I said to her, "You do realize you're talking about the top 6,000 out of 60 million books?"
yeah.
And there was this long
Yeah. Yeah.
pause, and I
Yeah.
went,
I know.
"Context is everything."
Right.
And she
Right.
said, "She said you
Right.
have
Right.
no
That's
idea."
true. That is
She
true.
said, "You have no idea how you lifted me up." Just, yeah, you think, oh, because everybody, you think you want to be number one, or you want to be the top 100 or the top 10 or the top whatever somebody's touting that week. But
Yeah.
you got to remember, Amazon's got 60 million books.
I know.
So,
We've talked about that before on my show with other people because it's true though. And to me, it's though it sometimes it's better in a lot of ways if they just keep writing and don't get too attached to your numbers
yeah,
because they change. If you look at it in 5 minutes, it could change. And if somebody looks at your book, I don't know how they do the algorithms at
I,
all.
I think I think the numbers right now are really screwed up because I have a book that I released last week and another book. And one book is doing really great in the rankings, and it's making money. Don't get me wrong, but it's not
Yeah.
making nearly as much money as the other book. But the other book is really high in the rankings, and I'm like, I said to Renee, "Is this what you mean when you say to me the numbers, the ranking numbers are now so screwed up?" She goes, "Yep, that's what I
Yep.
mean.
Well,
They
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 are. I think right there, there's no way. Like even with my show, I have no idea anymore. Like when I was with Blog Talk, years ago, we would know. But and then later on, they somebody bought them or something. It wasn't the same. And now on this network, I'm just recording here, but I put it other places. So I
Mhm,
really don't know. And I just can't let that ruin my shows thinking about that. Do you know what I
mhm.
mean? Because the shows stay forever. So if somebody wants to listen to my show 5 years ago, they can because I have like over 1,000 shows on there, which,
Yeah,
that's the thing. I did podcasting before people even, I had to explain what it was you
yeah,
know and but so you that's what my biggest gripe with libraries and like Barnes and Noble and Amazon, they just show the top ones, but what
yeah,
about people that have written books 10 years ago? The book is still good.
yeah. That doesn't mean anything.
And I just hate that for that reason because if you've written a book and it's 10 years old, that doesn't mean it's not a good book. It just means it's not getting up to the front because that's what happens. And if you go to the library or they put the top books out. But
Yeah,
what about everybody else?
yeah, I think you have to like look for things, and I think as writers, it's important that we talk to beginning writers, to
Yeah.
readers.
Yeah.
I'm known for going to, if somebody's doing a book club and they want to use one of my books, if they're within driving distance and they
Yeah.
want me to, I will come
Yeah.
and join them.
Yeah.
And yes, we usually talk about that book, but I will tell you, we most often talk more about writing and how I got where I
Yeah.
am and blah blah blah. And you sit and talk to people, and I enjoy that. I go to signings, and a lot of people say they're there to network with other authors, and I should do more of that. But the fact is, I go to signings to network with my readers, to see my
Well,
readers,
yeah, I
and to sit
agree.
with
Yeah.
them and to talk to them and to sign their books and to have lunch with them. And, Chris and I are going to be down in the bar. Why don't you guys come join us? And they do. And we all have a really good time. Um, it's
But I
just,
think because well, you're in Florida, and I think it's a much more writer friendly atmosphere there because they have a lot of contests there, conferences there.
yeah,
In
there
Chi-
are a lot of them.
there's a
And,
lot.
and
We don't have that in Chicago. Like we have some, I guess. I don't know.
I
You
had
know. I was
I
never
went.
big on groups for me.
I
That's why I'm glad I do the show.
I just love them. I just think I come away higher than a kite from a signing.
Right. I
I mean,
wish I had ones to go to, but they're not.
it's
It's
my
not
crack
like that
cocaine.
here. Yeah.
Well, come down here. You can stay with us and go.
I know. I
And
gotta
we'll
get on. I
we'll
know.
drive you.
I'm working on. I'm working on going on planes. That's the thing. And if anybody's read my books, my characters sometimes don't like to be on a plane either, because that
Well,
I add in.
I went to a signing this year called Feel the Heat in Tampa.
Hmm.
And the woman, it was her very first signing that she'd ever put on.
Hmm.
And a lot of people were saying, well, I don't want to go if it's her first time out. I have to tell you, Michelle Healy worked her butt off.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sold books galore. I sold out of books. We had a blast. She made sure those writers were taken care of. She had kids, teenagers going around going, can I get you some water? Can I do this? Can I do that? She was taking care of people left and
Yeah.
right. It was a phenomenal signing. And I said to her, if you do it again in Tampa, I'm coming.
Right.
And she said, you want to go anywhere else? And I said, where are you
Yeah.
going to be? And she said, well, I'm going to be in a couple places. And one was Savannah and one was Chattanooga. And I said, yep, I'm going. So
Yeah.
I'm going to
Yeah.
Three Hers next year.
Yeah.
And I'm going, but I like to go to ones where I know I'm going to have readers and people I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And we just use them to get together with readers. I mean, I'll have, the official signing and stuff, but we usually do something up in our room, either have pizza and Coke and stuff, or we'll do breakfast bagels or just something so people can come in and just be casual and laid back and talk
That I've tried to I've tried over the years to get readers on the show
mhm,
because I want to people I want readers to talk about what they like and what they feel about authors
mhm,
because I think that that's one of the things about libraries. People like to meet authors. They do.
mhm.
I
I
like to,
think so.
I feel like over the years, because I've done this show for so many years, all the people I've met, I love this because I would never have met them. So I learn, you could learn from other people if you keep your mind open to
Oh
that.
yeah, and you can have them, and you don't have to agree on everything. I'm one of those people. I truly can agree to disagree with somebody. It's not
Right.
that important as making those connections. And I have a reader that if I'm within a half a day's drive of her, she's going to come see me, and I always make sure I have time to see her
Yeah.
because she's making a real effort to come see me. By God, and some uh, event people, not Michelle, not some of the others that I use, um, don't like you to sign people's books if they haven't bought the book at the signing. I'm sorry, it's my book. If you bought one of my books, it has my name on it. If you want me to sign it, I don't really care where you bought it.
Right. What?
I
Oh,
will
that,
sign it for
yeah,
you.
of
And
course.
so I've had people bring 4, 5, 6 books and had me sign them. And I am happy to
Right.
do that.
Because they're happy to meet you. They're not like
Well,
running into you at the grocery. So that where would they see you?
and then, well, don't start me about grocery stores and being seen. But I mean, I have the first time somebody says to you, would you sign my book? It's like
Yeah,
I still get kind of giddy and silly over it.
I know.
It's like I know me. I know who I am. Like right now, I'm sitting here in pajama pants and no bra, and no makeup on. Not exactly the glamorous writer that Barbara Cartland. You know, I'm sorry. I hate Barbara Cartland. She she made it so that romance writers were never going to get any respect, and the world thinks that we sit around in daffodil gowns and
Yeah,
jewels and
right.
eye makeup, and
And
we
eat
look,
bonbons
and eat
and yeah,
bonbons with
right,
our
yeah,
little dog.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's not the way I live. You heard my dogs; they're
Well, she
big.
was on the covers with I think she with little poodle or something on her.
Yeah,
She had yeah.
and I that worked for her, and I'm glad it did. I don't really hate the one, but it's like there's so
Let me
much.
say whatever worked for people like 40 years ago doesn't work now.
No, I think
It's not.
I think some people wanted to believe that it was anybody could do it. And when somebody says to me, "I've always wanted to write a book,"
Yeah.
anybody can do that. I look at them and go, "Let me see you try."
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
friend who I was starting to make really good money as a writer. She's a trained journalist. She's
Yeah.
trained in writing. She wrote for Stars and Stripes. All this, and she thought, well, I can do this. She can do
Yeah.
this. I can do this. So she wrote for 3 days. She got 10,000 words down. She called me up and she said, Oh my God, how do you
Yeah,
do
this is
this?
hard. I wanted to ask you a question because I think this might help a lot of people that I didn't
Huh?
ask. You talk about most people that are writers, a lot of them don't use outlines. So I
Mhm.
want you to tell me and tell the people that are listening, when you get an idea, what exactly do you do with that idea in your outline form? Because I think people that would help people try to figure out what they want
I
to do.
I used to be a total pantser, just total.
Yeah.
And I would get to the middle of a book and kind of go, okay, I know where I want to go, but I'm not sure how to get there. And I would get bogged down.
Okay.
And so an editor I was working with, she said, well, you might try using a plot. So I tried using a plot. One, I hated writing it. Two, I had somebody write it for me, and even when I tweaked it, I hated the whole thing, and it didn't work for me. It was too constrictive. And
Right.
she said, "Well, you might try an outline."
Hmm.
And I said, "Aha!" So I did. And now you can pay people to make outlines for you. You can make your own outlines for yourself. I'm not as good as that, and I write really fast. And so, you can. There are programs that will write outlines for you.
You
You can
mean
pay.
somebody else is gonna write an outline out? How do I mean,
Oh yeah, there are people that make a living writing outlines for people.
yeah, but how could you like when I'm writing, I'm not sure. I mean, I the fun for me is going, "Oh, look what they did."
Well, that's what I like about an outline is I can take that outline as it gives me a place to start and sort of gives me. It's like having I have a map how to get from point A to the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
Now I have characters who about three-quarters of the way through the book go, yeah, I don't want to go there anymore. Let's go over here.
Right. Right.
And so I literally stop, I re-outline the end, but it allows me to write cleaner and faster. My
So
first drafts,
do you do an outline with like A, B, and one, two, three, four, or
I,
how do
well,
you?
I know I have chapter one and I have bullet points.
Okay.
These are the
Okay.
things I want to cover. Chapter two, this thing.
Okay.
And I
So
write
that's
whose
your
point of view
outline. Is you put
and
in
whose
you
point
put
of
in
view
your
it's going to
first
be.
thought like a chapter one, and
And
then
some
you
people will
yeah,
write a little synopsis of the chapter. That seems like
yeah,
an awful lot of work to me, and I'm kind
yeah,
of lazy, so I don't. But
right.
I get these bullet points, and I do the bullet points,
Oh,
go down there
okay.
and get those, and go on with my life. And there are, like I said, there are
Because
places that
that's a good help because I we've talked about this, but you use the bullet points. Oh, okay.
I just ideas. What I need in this chapter to happen. There are also several places on Facebook that sell what they call plots, and they're not really plots; they're more outlines. But
Yeah,
they will, for anywhere from $45 to $150, give you an outline. And at least when you're starting to outline, that was helpful to me because
yeah,
I could take that and then I could change it the way I wanted it, but
right.
I at least had a structure to follow. So that
Right. Well,
was
that's
really,
well, I kind of do it with my screenplays. That's what I do when I
yeah,
write a book for my screenplays because it's there, but then it's all different. But at the end, when I get to the end, sometimes it doesn't work out that way.
yeah.
But
It's
I
just,
use that. Maybe that's the same form because I
yeah.
talk about that a lot. Yeah.
I write very character driven pieces. So if
Yeah.
my characters decide to go left when I thought we were going right,
Right.
I just kind of follow along behind them, mainly because I've never been very good at getting them to come back where I wanted. So
Yeah.
I've given up on that. I just follow them.
Right. That's
Um,
what that is what I
but
do too. Yeah.
but there are. This is the other thing. There's no wrong way to write a book.
Right.
People will tell you, oh, you have to have a plot. Oh, you have to have this. Oh, you
Yeah.
can't have
Right.
that. You can't. You do whatever
Yeah.
works for your process.
Right.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
You're not hurting anybody doing it. So just do it. And
Yeah.
and and if it makes it easier for you, if it makes you turn out a better first, my first drafts are super super clean.
Yeah.
My editors are like, yeah, there's not a whole lot here for me to work with.
Yeah.
Because it's written well, because I've learned, I know what I'm writing, and I'll
Yeah.
do the same thing with a series. I'll think of a new series, and I'll say, okay, I'll look at K-Lytics, what's selling, and okay, how could I make this work for me?
Yeah.
Well, I could do this, or I could do that, and I wanted to do a new paranormal series set in a coastal town.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to do Maine, but I
Yeah.
said to my readers in my reader group, hey, I'm going to do a new series. It's going to be one side. Would you rather it was a coastal town in Maine, a coastal town here, coastal town, or an island off the coast of Scotland? Island off the coast of
Oh.
Scotland won.
Ah,
big time.
hmm.
And Renee, my PA, said, I thought they were going to be in Maine. I said, yeah, so did I, but apparently not. So I'm now
Yeah.
writing the book that goes to the one off the
Yeah.
coast of Scotland. I think when people ask people things in a poll or in a reader group for their opinion, and
Yeah.
they don't listen, and they don't listen repeatedly, people quit telling them because they're like, well, why are you asking me? You don't listen to us.
Yeah.
I do. I have a group of beta readers that I have curated down to this group. And a writer friend of mine said, do you think I could send my book to your beta readers? And I said, yes, but you need to think about if you really want to do that. And she said, what do you mean? They do a good job. I said, they do a great job. The thing is, I have trained them to tell me what they think, not what they think I want to hear.
Right.
I don't need them to say, "Oh, Delta, I love your books."
Yeah.
I need them to say, "This works, this doesn't work. I loved this, I hated that." Uh, all of that kind of stuff. Because each of them brings something different. They're scattered all over the world. They're all over demographically. They each bring their own life and their own experiences to that process, and I get to benefit from that process. And I will also in my reader group, if I it's something I try to write about things I know so that when I write about them, I can tell it how it feels, how it felt,
Right.
what you see, all the senses. But I haven't done anything. I've never skydived in my life.
Yeah.
Never, not once, not going to happen. I wrote this great skydiving scene. And Chris said to me, I didn't know you'd ever skydive. And I looked at her and I said, have you met me? And
Right.
she laughed. But what I did
Right.
was I wrote what I thought, having read some stuff. But
Right.
then I went on my reader group and I said, who has skydived?
Right.
And several people said, oh, I have. I said, can I send you a scene to read
Right.
and
Yeah.
tell me if I got it right?
Right.
And one,
It's a
they
good
love it. They
idea.
love
That's
being
good.
involved. But two, I get such good information.
Right.
I get that with I was going to have crash a plane, and I said, has anybody been in a plane in the either a pilot or co-pilot or a navigator in the cockpit of a plane when it crashes? I need to know what. And I had two readers say my husband has, and I said,
Ugh.
could I ask your? They said so. One of them sent me sort of a narrative. One of them sent me a checklist. Well, you do this and then you check this. And but I took all that. I wrote the scene and then I sent it back to the husbands and said, what do you think?
Yeah.
And they both loved it. They both thought it was good. And but the one guy said, "And now we know why you're the novelist and I'm the pilot."
Well, at least he lived. I'm already thinking I'm not writing anybody getting killed in a car.
Oh, I didn't want anybody to get killed. That's what I wanted
Right.
to know how to
That's what I'm saying.
survive the
Oh,
plane
that's not
crash.
happening. I can't write that. I can write turbulence. I can't write a
But,
crash.
well,
I
it's
could
her and the
deal with
octopus
that.
goes. It all works out.
Yeah,
It's all fine.
I know.
But that was the thing. I've never been in a plane that went down,
Yeah.
and so I didn't know. And I've never been a pilot. I've never flown a plane. So
Yeah.
I had no idea what all went on up there.
Yeah.
So I asked, and that's the thing I say to authors. You have readers, you have people who like you.
Yeah.
Ask them questions.
Yeah.
Lean into their
Or you
scene.
can always go online and look up things and try to they and there's sometimes when you look up things you find other things you go, oh, this seems good, or
Mhm.
you have to sometimes, even if it's a romance, you have to do some research sometimes because you want to be right about what you're doing.
Absolutely, and I'm just. Chris used to laugh when she first started reading my books, and she'd go, can you actually do? I mean, is that anatomically possible? And I'd say, yes. She'd go, okay. I said, I don't write
Okay.
unanatomically possible. And I've read things. I've read romance books where I'm looking at it thinking, yeah, no, that you can't do that. That doesn't work that way. Or
I once had three authors and they had a publishing company, and they were explaining how they tried out different positions, for writing very sexy books. They tried them out, like trying to figure out if a person could actually do what they said they could do, because, like you're saying, you want to make sure it has been done or could be done.
yeah, Lexi Blake has a book called The Man with the Golden Cuffs, and in it the heroine is a writer, and she talks about having Barbie and Ken dolls so that she can see if you could anatomically do things.
Oh, that's a new
And I
one. I
always thought
haven't
that
heard
was really
that one.
funny. And then I was writing something the
Oh
other
my
night,
God.
and I said to Chris, I understand now why Lexi Blake said that because she's right. It would be really helpful
Yeah.
to have dolls to be able to see. You know,
So in some of your books, they're novellas. So if people can't write a longer book or don't want to or
Mhm.
know that you're finished at 100 pages, just put it out as 100 pages. Don't make
Yeah,
up things that don't fit.
yeah. Novellas sell.
I
Um,
love
one of one
novellas.
of the hot markets right now is what they call the 2 hour read,
Yeah.
and it's for a lot of people who commute to work.
Yeah.
They can finish a book in a day. They
They
can
like
read it,
it.
and they can
Right.
finish it on the way home, and they like
Right.
it, or they can
Exactly.
do one going one way, one going. The other thing is audiobooks. I put out a lot of
Right.
audiobooks
Like I do.
because
I love that. Yeah.
I love
Audiobooks.
because people really enjoy having them. And again, they're commuters,
Yeah.
either on the train or in their own car or wherever they're going, but they can listen. And
When they're
so
cooking, when they're getting
yeah,
doing
what
their hair, when they're whatever, you can hear, what you can just hear it. I love it. And I think it's a good tool for authors.
yeah, I think it's really fun to hear your words come back to you. Sometimes you
Yeah.
think, wow, that's really good. And sometimes you think, oh God, I could have said that better.
Yeah, I
I'm
think I
very
sometimes I don't even feel like I wrote it.
yeah, it's really a
It's
lot of
weird.
fun.
It's a weird experience when
I
you're listening
have
to your own.
I have a guy that I work with exclusively to do all my narrations because I just love him and I call him
Yeah.
the man of 1,000 voices because he is. But it is so fun hearing his voice
Yeah.
come back and do and give my characters life. Because
Yeah.
now when I rewrite those characters after he's given them voice,
Yeah.
that's the voice I hear in my head.
Right, right. And then when my Warrington series is saying he did my books and he's doing my next book coming out, and I love the way because he understands my writing and he
Mhm.
feels it. So you know the
Yeah.
difference because at the
Oh yeah,
beginning
you can tell a guy
I
who
have
likes
yeah, yeah,
who works
because
with the
I've
writer
yeah,
as a partner or one
yeah,
who's just being paid to say the words.
right.
I
And
once said to JT, would you on the book instead of saying narrated by, would you rather I put performed by? Because I think
yeah.
he
Oh,
does
that's a
more
good
than just
idea.
narrate it.
That's good.
And he said, nope, nope, I'm a
But that
narrator.
is a good idea though. It sounds.
Well, and what I found really interesting was a lot of authors do not give credit to their narrators on their book covers.
Oh, I do.
On the
Always.
audiobook cover, there'll be nothing there about who the narrator
Oh
is.
no. My
I'm sorry, I
narrators'
think
names are
that's
on there.
tacky.
Yeah,
But I
my
will
narrators are on there. Oh, absolutely.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's just like this is their work too.
And my
You know,
editor, Jeff, is in all, I always give credit to him.
me too.
I need
You know,
him.
I have a long list of credits for people that
Yes.
a lot of people think that writing is done in a vacuum,
Oh,
and it
no.
can be because I did
Yeah.
it that way for a
No,
while. I have to
no.
tell you, it's a lot better if you have a tribe. If you've got people, not just other writers, but like Chris who runs the household and Renee who does the advertising and all the PA work, and
Yeah.
the
Mm.
editors and then the
Yeah.
beta readers and this. It's a lot better if there's more people
Yeah.
to point it out to you. But my beta readers, a lot of them no longer read for anybody else because the other authors don't listen to them. And I do
Yeah.
listen to them.
Yeah.
And I change it. And if, they can have an argument with me literally on a
Yeah.
Facebook chat. We'll
Yeah.
have an argument. And if you can convince me I'm wrong and you're
Yeah.
right, I'll change it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm open to that. And that's what one of them says. She says, I feel like I actually get to be a part of it. And when I
Right.
reread the book, I think, oh, she changed that because of what I said. You know,
My
yeah.
editor, he started with me when he was in college. He was my friend's my son's friend. And he knows me, I know him, and I need him because he knows me, how I write. You don't want someone that doesn't know anything about you either.
No, and they also need to know the genre that you write in,
Yeah, yeah,
and some of the tropes that you write in,
yeah,
because somebody who's really good at editing horror
yeah.
is probably not going to do so well in a open door romance novel. You have
Yeah.
to look at what
Well,
people.
that was one of the things when I did a sexy book. I go, I don't know, because we've not done that, Jeff. But he was
Mhm.
great. Jeff Fleischer's my editor, and he's on my shows, and I've known him forever. But he can tell me what he thinks, and I trust him. You have to trust
Yeah,
your editor.
yeah,
If you
you
do
do.
not trust your editor, and if
Get
you do,
another out.
right, and sometimes I go like, oh, I don't know, and when I had an office years ago, he would come in and do it, and I would say, oh, this one looks pretty good. Then I see him take out like a red pen on when you because a lot of editors just cop. They
Yeah.
don't do it online. So it's like, I thought, oh, where did I get all those mistakes or things that he has to change? I thought,
I
oh,
think
this
I
is,
think if you're constantly looking to see if you wrote it correctly or if it's that will slow your process down and you'll
yeah,
actually lose the flow.
yeah,
I had this bad
yes,
reaction to Manjaro, and I couldn't write for a day and a half,
yeah,
and I sort of lost the flow to the
yeah,
book I was writing. I had to. It took me the longest time to write a
yeah,
chapter today, and then the second chapter came much quicker because I
yeah.
was back in the flow.
Well, he just gave
And
me his advice after all these. He
yeah,
goes, all right, listen, just write the book. I'll worry about the editing. Just write the book.
yeah, and
And
that's what
that's
you
really
want is
true. It,
somebody.
yes. Because I
You
have
know,
a habit of going back and forth, which is not good.
no, it's not. You need to
It's
write
not.
the book.
I know.
And somebody, a woman said to me, I finished my first book and I have it with the editor and I blah, blah, blah. What do I do next? And I said, start the next book.
Right. I know.
And she just looked at me and I
It's
said,
very, these are the same advice. These are simple things, though. That's why I
well,
like the way you say it. The same, you think the way I, because this is simple. Don't make it hard that you
this
will
is
never
not,
write.
yeah, I'm sorry, this is not rocket science. I'm sorry, it's not. It's,
It
yes, I
isn't.
think you have to have
What?
talent, you have to have this and
You
that,
mean
but
I am not a
it's,
scientist? Oh,
yeah,
my
I mean,
goodness.
you just want to be able to communicate with people. When somebody said to me, I got asked in an interview, what do you do for a living? And I said, I entertain people.
Yeah.
And the person just looked at me, and all the other writers that were in the group all looked
Yeah.
at me, and I said, that's what we do, people. We
That's
entertain.
funny that you said that because, my
I'm
shows,
not writing to change the world. I'm not writing to give you my opinion on
right.
world politics.
Yeah.
I'm not writing to tell you how to do something. I'm writing to entertain you. I'm
Right.
writing so that you can be living your life and think, I am tired. I have had enough. I've had a bad
Right.
day.
Right.
I just want to go read something
Right. And
where I know
that's,
the guy's a good guy. There's going to be a happily ever after. You know, that's what they want, and
right. And,
that's what I give them.
just before we end the show, that's right. Because I changed my, we have things, you could write it under writer, arts, whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm entertainment. This is what I do. It's an
Mhm,
entertaining, but writing books is entertaining people.
mhm.
Because if
Um,
it's 2 hours, 4 hours, and then you're listening to an audiobook for seven, you're entertaining them.
you're taking them out of your world, and I
Right.
get uh, dozens of emails and messages on Facebook a week from people saying, this book really meant a lot to me, and it really changed how I looked at things.
Yeah.
And sometimes I sort of go, huh?
Yeah.
I wrote a wolf shifter romance novel. How exactly did that change somebody's life?
Right. Well,
But people take from it
yeah.
what they need, and I'm
Right.
kind of like, cool, if I get to do that as well, if I can make somebody's life a little bit
Right.
better or easier or
Which
what
is
have you,
which
I'm
is
good.
why after today's show, if you haven't had a mammogram, go get one.
Yeah,
If you haven't
absolutely,
had a pap smear,
go
talk
get
to your
one.
doctor. You need
Yeah,
one.
I mean, and
Okay.
and
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 if you're not feeling well, get a checkup.
yeah, you have to decide you want to be healthy. I
Yeah.
made a comment to Chris that, you know, I decided to get healthy and I felt like crap ever since. Well, it's not true, but I've gone through some stuff. I've gone through the cancer stuff and I've gone through the blood sugar stuff and
Yeah. Well,
but it's all stuff I should have been paying attention to all along anyway. And I
all right.
just did.
But see, that's a good advice, though, to people. Don't, you know, I'm always an advocate for going to doctors if you don't feel well. But I also know you have to listen to them. But if you're not sure, go to somebody else.
Exactly. If you don't understand what they're telling you,
Right.
you ask them questions and they're
Right.
still not telling it in
Right.
a way you understand. It doesn't mean that they're a bad doctor. It means you're not a good. That's not. They're not a good doctor for you. I
That's
mean, that's
right.
it. Doesn't mean that
There's
they're
millions
bad.
of doctors out there. You can
Yeah,
find
I
them.
mean, you have to find somebody who wants to be, and I hate to say this because it's so cliched, but wants to be your partner in health.
Yeah.
They want to help you feel better. They want to help you live a better life, and
And don't
and
be
that's what
afraid.
you
Don't be
want.
afraid to talk to them.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to disagree with them. And frankly,
Right.
don't hand them the reins. They are not
Right.
in charge. Chris is over here
Exactly.
cringing.
That's a
I
good way.
never let
Don't
go of
hand
the
them the
fact that
reins. I like that. Don't hand them the
it's my
reins.
body and I get to make the
That's right.
decisions.
But
I will
okay,
listen to you. I will take your advice. I will,
and
take on board what you tell me.
October is, you know, breast cancer month. And so this is the time when you see people, they used to talk about it more, but the world has changed a lot. So it
Mhm.
became so political, but get a mammogram. It's
Yeah.
October.
And if you don't have insurance or your insurance doesn't cover it, or if you
Yeah.
can't, look around.
Yeah. Look
There
online.
are a lot
I'm
of
sure there's places.
free
Yes.
mammogram
Yeah.
programs out there.
Yeah.
And, you may have to drive 2 hours to get to one, but they're
Yeah.
out there and it's
Yeah.
worth the drive. It's worth your time to go find out if you're healthy.
Oh,
You
and I
know.
have one thing to add. If you're on medication and you have questions, ask your pharmacist too.
Oh yeah. Pharmacist
That's what
knows.
I always ask the pharmacist questions because they know so much about drugs and what
Yeah.
interacts with what. So those are the things that I hope people are listening today to think about. They're just if you think that way, every time you have something, you will understand it better and won't be as afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think knowledge is power. I
Yeah,
really do.
yeah, yeah,
Um, what you do with it is entirely up to you. But I think to have the knowledge to make an informed decision
yeah,
is
yeah,
important.
yeah. And listen to people that know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Not somebody down the block or somebody somewhere else that
Or
just
not
gives
some
you their
celebrity
opinion.
or some crazy romance
Yeah,
writer or
right.
anything else.
No.
You know, listen to the people who
Yep.
know. And I would second,
We're not right. We're just saying go to the right person.
yeah. And I would say, like you said, if you're having questions about your medications,
Yeah.
your pharmacist could be your best friend. I mean,
Yeah.
those guys know more. I was having trouble with some allergies. And I talked to the pharmacist and he said, you can take this pill. He goes, but really? He said, this nasal spray has worked miracles for me.
Yeah.
And so I tried it and he was right. It works
Yeah.
great for me. Much
And
better than
right,
any.
I have bad allergies and I do take medication, but I also take and I when I work for doctors, this is what people I take tea and honey. It
No,
works with the drug with the
no.
with
Yeah, well,
drugs.
you want to use local honey. That's the other thing I do is he said the same thing. You want the bees, you want the honey from the bees that are pollinating
Yeah.
the area you're
Yeah.
allergic to.
Yeah.
And so I use ginger tea and it's got raw natural honey in it, and that has helped
Oh,
tremendously.
ginger tea? Really? Oh.
Yeah,
Mm.
ginger's got great healing properties, or it does. It works for me. I have a friend who's very into natural medicines and natural
Right.
stuff
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
and she is a great believer in ginger tea and
Yeah.
ginger tea with
Look,
honey.
I think they should have medicine, which, is, holistic is not bad, but you need
I
both.
think, yeah, I was going to say, I think you need both. I think you need
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
For me, I want to come at it. I want to come at it in the best way I can to give me the
Yeah.
best relief or
Yeah.
make me feel the best with the least amount of side effects.
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly. And we could listen, I should have another show because I truly believe in all this because you need to really talk about these things because people are so confused now.
Oh yeah,
And, while I'm not a doctor, I worked 25 years in the profession.
exactly.
But, and so, but my advice to people is if you have questions, ask your doctor. And if you don't like your doctor, get a new one. All right.
Yeah,
And
that's
on
my
that,
mine is. You don't like them, you can't ask them questions. Get a new
bye
one.
bye. Goodbye.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. It's always so much fun talking to you. We got both things accomplished today, writing and health, which is a
yes.
good thing. And now I'll have to figure out how to put it out there so people won't get confused about what the show
Just Delta
was.
and Marsha yakking at each other again.
Off the cuff sounds best. Off the cuff. All right. Thank you again. Take care.
Thanks. Bye,
Bye,
Marsha.
everybody. Thanks for listening. Bye bye.